The ancient Greeks figured out how to make money multiply forever. Then governments made it illegal, and banks quietly brought it back, but only for themselves. This is the story of the most powerful wealth system in human history, and why you've never been taught it. Picture ancient Athens, 400 BC, togas, sandals, absolutely zero air conditioning. A philosopher named Plato, yes, that Plato, is sitting in the sun, sweating, eating olives, and casually inventing one of the most powerful financial tools in human history. Not democracy, not philosophy, compound interest. Now here's where it gets weird. Plato didn't just write about compound interest, he used it. When Plato died, he left behind a small amount of money in a special fund. He gave it specific instructions: grow and keep growing and don't stop. He told his family to let it sit, let it multiply, let it snowball. That fund, historians believe, kept paying out to his descendants and academic followers for nearly 900 years. 900 years! Your savings account can't even make it through a recession without crying. Plato's money outlived entire empires. So what was this system, and why don't you have one? Buckle up, we're about to go on a field trip through 2,400 years of history, greed, political drama, and one incredibly inconvenient truth about how money actually works. Let's break this down like you're 12, because honestly, most adults don't understand it either. They just pretend to. Here's the basic idea. Normal money is flat. Compound interest is a snowball. Imagine you have $100. You lend it to someone, they pay you back $110. You made $10. That's boring. That's simple interest, flat, dull, like a cheese sandwich. Now here's the magic trick. What if instead of pocketing that $10, you added to your original pile? Now you have $110 working for you. Next round, you don't earn $10, you earn $11. Then you add that to the pile. Now $121 is working, then $133, then $146. Then it starts going faster, then faster. Then it's a freight train. Then it's a financial monster that eats money for breakfast and gets bigger every single day. That's compound interest. Interest on your interest. Money making money that makes more money. Plato didn't invent this concept from thin air. The Babylonians were doing crude versions of it 4,000 years ago. Ancient Mesopotamian clay tablets, basically the world's first spreadsheets, except carved in rock by stressed-out accountants, showed loan records with compounding structures. The idea is that old. But here's where our story gets spicy. So if compound interest is this powerful, why isn't everyone using it to get rich?
Fast forward a few centuries, Rome is the center of the world. Christianity is spreading, and the Catholic Church has opinions about money. Specifically, earning money from money is a sin. They called it usury, the practice of charging interest on loans. And for about 1,000 years, the church made it illegal, immoral, and a fast-track ticket to eternal damnation. Think about that. The most powerful compounding machine ever invented, completely banned, not by governments, but by organized religion, telling you that letting your money grow was morally equivalent to stealing. Why? Because compound interest is terrifying if you're the one who owes the money. Here's the villain reveal. Compound interest doesn't just work for you, it works against you too. If you borrow money at compound interest, you don't just owe what you borrowed. You owe that plus the interest on the interest, plus the interest on the interest on the interest. In medieval Europe, peasants who borrowed grain from wealthy landowners would sometimes end up owing more grain than they could ever grow, just from compounding debt. The rich got richer, exponentially. The poor got crushed, exponentially. So the church stepped in and said, "Cool system. Banned. You're welcome." And for centuries, at least officially, compound interest was off the table. Unofficially, the bankers kept doing it anyway. They just called it something else. Enter the Medici family. Florence, Italy, 1400s. The Medicis were the most powerful banking family in Europe. They were basically the Wolf of Wall Street, except with better architecture and more murder. The church said charging interest was illegal. Fine. The Medicis invented something called a bill of exchange. It was a loan with interest, hidden inside a currency exchange rate. They were charging compound interest. They just dressed it up in a disguise so fancy even the Pope couldn't technically call it usury. They made compound interest wear a costume, and it worked. For generations, the Medicis accumulated so much wealth that they funded the entire Italian Renaissance. Michelangelo? Botticelli? The Sistine Chapel? Compound interest, baby. While everyone else was arguing about whether money could morally make money, the Medicis were letting their money snowball in the shadows, funding art, science, politics, and basically the rebirth of Western civilization, all because they refused to stop using the banned system. Here's where it gets personal, because that system the church banned, the kings outlawed, and the rich kept using in secret, you have access to it right now. The question is, are you using it? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Humans are terrible at understanding compound interest, not because we're dumb, because our brains evolved to handle linear thinking. One step, next step, next step. We can handle, I have $100, I earn $10, I have $110. We cannot instinctively feel $100 at 10% annual compound interest becomes $17,449 in 55 years. That's not a typo. $100, 55 years, 10% return, $17,000.
Your brain reads that and goes, sure, okay, whatever, because you can't feel exponential growth. It doesn't compute emotionally. This is why Albert Einstein, allegedly, though historians argue about this, called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. He said, or someone said, look, it's a good quote, let's not ruin the moment, he who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. And that's the whole game right there. Two teams. Team earns, team pays. Banks, team earns. They compound interest on their investments. Credit cards, team pays. They charge you compound interest on your debt. Your 401k growing over 40 years? Team earns. Your minimum payment on a $5,000 credit card balance? Team pays. Possibly for the rest of your earthly existence and a portion of the afterlife. Here's where Plato's ghost comes back and goes, told you so. In 1790, a man named Benjamin Franklin decided to run the world's longest financial experiment. When he died, Franklin left 1,000 pounds, roughly equivalent to about $135,000 today, to the cities of Boston and Philadelphia. His instructions? Don't touch it for 200 years. Just let it compound. One catch, they could take a little bit out at year 100 to fund public works, but the rest, hands off. Let the snowball roll. Year 100, Boston's fund had grown to about $500,000. They withdrew some for infrastructure projects. Classic. Year 200, 1990, Boston's remaining fund had grown to over $5 million from 1,000 pounds. 200 years of compound interest. Franklin didn't need to be alive. He didn't need to work. He didn't need to hustle or grind or post motivational quotes at 5 a.m. He just needed time and a system that never stopped multiplying. He literally made money from beyond the grave. That's not finance. That's sorcery. Legal, mathematically sound, historically documented sorcery. So, here's the question you need to ask yourself right now. Is your money on team earns or team pays? Because most people don't know, and the answer changes everything. You want to know the real scandal here? Compound interest is not secret. It's not hidden in some underground vault guarded by the Medici's descendants. It's in every finance textbook ever written, and yet almost nobody uses it correctly. Here's why. Compound interest requires patience, and patience is not profitable for the people selling you things. The finance industry makes money when you trade, when you buy and sell, when you panic, when you move money around. They do not make money when you sit still for 40 years and let your index funds silently multiply in the corner. Stillness doesn't generate fees. A financial advisor who says, put your money in a low-cost index fund and literally do nothing for 30 years is technically giving you the best advice in history. They're also putting themselves out of job. So, instead, the finance world invented day trading, hot stocks, crypto gambling, endless opportunities that require you to do something. Buy this, sell that, move here, go there. All of it distracting you from the most powerful thing you could do. Start early, stay consistent, stop touching it. That's the whole system. The same one Plato used, the same one the church banned, the same one the Medicis hid in their accounting books, the same one Benjamin Franklin deployed from the literal grave. 3 steps. Start, stay, stop touching it. Let's make this very real. 2 people, same income, same starting point. Person A, Early Eddie, starts investing $200 a month at age 22. Stops at age 32. Never invests another dollar again. Total invested, $24,000. Average 7% return, compounding annually. Person B, Late Larry, doesn't start until age 32. Invests $200 a month every month until age 62. Total invested, $72,000. Same 7% return. At age 62, who has more money? Early Eddie, who invested for just 10 years and then quit. Eddie ends up with roughly $400,000. Larry, who invested 3 times as much money for 3 times as long, ends up with roughly $243,000. Less money, more work, more time, worse result. Because Eddie had 10 extra years of compounding, 10 years where his money was growing before Larry even started. You cannot outwork a head start in a compound interest race. The machine doesn't care how hard you try later, it cares how early you started. This is why every financially wise person on earth sounds like a broken record. Start now, even if it's small, even if it's $20, even if it's uncomfortable. Because the cost of waiting is not just the money you miss, it's the compounded growth of the money you miss on the money you miss. Hurt your brain yet? Good. That pain is wisdom arriving. Here's the beautiful, slightly haunting conclusion to all of this. Compound interest was used by ancient civilizations, banned by medieval religion, hidden by Renaissance bankers, scientifically explained by Enlightenment thinkers, proven by a founding father's 200-year experiment, documented, taught, researched, and publicly available for centuries, and most people still aren't using it. Not because it's illegal anymore, not because the church will excommunicate you, not because it's hard or complicated or requires an advanced degree, but because it's boring. It asks you to do nothing for a very long time, and in a world screaming at you to act, hustle, move, trade, buy, sell, optimize, upgrade, and constantly do something, doing nothing is the hardest thing of all. Plato, sitting in the Athenian sun with his olives and his toga and his impossibly patient 900-year financial plan, knew something we keep forgetting. The most powerful financial move is the one you make once and then leave alone. The system isn't banned anymore. It's available to you, right now, today. The only question is whether you'll be bored enough to use it.